When life suddenly slams the brakes on you and forces you to trot down another path, it can make you put on boots you have to wear even if you don't like them, even if they make you go insane. This happened with pretty much every creature the day Canterlot was defaced in a massacre of unknown measures before Hoof, due to a misstep of a single pony. The capital of our beautiful home became engulfed in mega spells of balefire and the infamous pink clouds. However, the war between zebras and ponies would become a fight for survival amongst everyone who managed to survive that day, and if you weren't one of the quickest, bulkiest, strongest, or most magical ponies where you're from, odds are your bones might already be around for someone to cringe at. The magical apocalypse, however, as promised by Stable-Tech, would also be survived by those lucky enough to garner a spot in one of the many stables designed to shelter ponies for centuries. However, the promise given was worth as much as most promises nowadays. The majority of stables were secretly experiments onto survivors, at least that's the tales you would hear from other ponies who managed to break out of their prison. Some have been locked in with experimental animals, some with only stallions, and one concept for a stable even went as far as to strip inhabitants down to mostly earth ponies. I would probably have many nasty things to tell the Crusaders, who were supposedly the head of the company, and that's putting it lightly. If you're not a pony like myself, who has seen what Equestria was like before the war started, where harmony reigned and every pony had learned to work together peacefully, most tales from those times would seem like hoax. However, those who do know what it was like desperately cling onto what's left of those memories. Back then, when I was responsible for overseeing nature and keeping it in balance and harmony, and making sure every pony would get along with it, the lush meadows, the pure rivers, and many more breathtaking sights were what I was put in charge of by destiny, as it seemed. Nowadays, well, the most fitting description for nature's current state would be to describe it as being on opposite day for many decades. Many rivers have become poisonous and radiated, and the lands were ravaged, hence why they probably earned their name, the Wastelands. However, the past cannot simply be brought back. That I've come to realize. Just like most of the ponies who are still alive, I was locked into one of the stables. Mine particularly being famous for having no overmare or overstallion, but well, an over-robot if you want to call it that. The technical term being Crusader mainframe. Name aside, but I'm pretty sure every pony can put two and two together to figure out that that's no way to hurt a group of ponies. The stable was known as Stable 29, and life inside of there seemed fine for an outsider, but water shortages happened and ponies got weaker from it, and soon seemingly were wiped off the face of the wasteland. I was surely not going to stay inside while a tin can was just sitting there and watching us die out. That's when I left and decided for myself that I was hitting the brakes and started trotting down another path and putting my hooves down on it. No pony had hardly known about what was up outside of the stable doors, but me just sitting around and waiting for my demise, not in a millennium, that's for certain. I'm pained deeply, having to leave ponies behind, with no water and other resources for fellow stable dwellers to help out. I was in no position to dissolve this, and surely I wasn't going to get a party for myself for ruining that darn mainframe's face. I never saw outside until I decided to teleport myself out, but I know I felt that this world had changed into something that everyone suffered from under, and ever since I've been outside, my suspicions have been confirmed. Raiders attacking fellow ponies, slavers hurting them, and many more ways to mutilate what used to be known as harmony or friendship just adds to the list of things I don't like in the Wastelands and what I will stand up against. And yes, my will to restore this wasteland is pretty fierce. It's been quite a few years now since I've turned my back onto Stable 29, and my goals are still set. My name is known as New Leaf, and I still feel deeply inclined to nature, or better said, what it used to be. I've mostly earned a few caps, which is what bits are now, apparently, by teleporting ponies around if they had to get around quickly over large distances. And yes, one could certainly say I am one of the strongest magic users around. However, in order to make my wish come true, of harmony returning and nature recovering, no single pony can do that, especially if so many ponies are blinded by feelings like fear, or are trying to get power for themselves. Power comes from working together, as I believe. Unfortunately, finding reliable friends to trust in surely has gotten difficult, but it is far from impossible. The town of New Appaloosa was one of many where I was working. Being good with magic quickly earned me quite a few caps, so I could get my hooves on a few things and maybe make a friend or two. I really despised weapons and many other technical shenanigans, but I was really urged by many ponies in that town to get equipment, like a pip-buck, guns, and many other items. You know, typical sales ponies. But well, I'm one of those ponies who can stay afloat with the simplest of things. I did eventually give in to buy a pip-buck, mostly for its purposes to distract a pony from the Wastelands for a while really. Surely it even came with functions that help you monitor your personal health, your inventory, and whatnot. But if you're as in tune with your surroundings like I am, you usually know if an apple is rotten or not. Ponies say it's supposed to go on one of your front hooves, but about that. I only do so when I wish to hear music really. When it's not on my hoof during the evening, it's in my saddlebag, just like other things I have, like some clean water, good food, and a few samples of nature from the past, even a memory orb. It contains the memories of an afternoon where I was laying down under a tree. It will make sure I don't ever forget what I'm fighting for here. Speaking of fights, those have become more common, and my most reliable way of defense is my magic, especially coupled with nature. Surely it was now a wasteland, but still, even the bottom of the food chain has potential to shine. Nothing beats vanishing from a bunch of raiders in the cover of a sandstorm. You might be astounded by the wings hidden under my saddlebag, but it does well at concealing them to the blind eye since they aren't very big. Why I have to hide them? Well, recently fake alicorns have been showing up, and are kill on sight for quite a few wastelanders, so let's keep the secret of mine hidden. Anyway, I'm on this journey to resurrect Equestria as I have gotten to know and love it. You want to tag along and see what it's like being out here and fighting for what I'm after? Then buckle up and get your hooves ready. This is gonna be a long and bumpy ride.